We begin this assignment by opening up Autodesk AutoCAD 2018 version or 2020 version, if that's what you have installed in your computers in the classroom. First thing we have to do is to make sure that when we open up any drawing that we use a template file. In this case, we will be using the same template file that we've had or used in the past in our other assignments. That's the McFadder ACAD template file. So you can do that two ways. If you happen to have it located in a location where it can be found, you can go up here to the Start Drawings, Templates, and search for it here. But in our case, we do not have it located here. We have it in one of our servers. So we're going to go to the application icon on the top left of your screen. We're going to click that, and we're going to go to New, left click, and we're going to search for the template located here. Now the location of the template when you're doing it in the classroom will be in the W drive, that is our shared network drive. In this case, I have it located right here. I'll left click, open, and it automatically creates a new drawing file located right here that has applied the template that we selected. If you look at this template, it brought us directly into what we call layout space or paper space. That would be a sheet that we would create. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be modifying this template in a number of ways. We're going to change units, we're going to change sheet sizes, we're going to create new layers, etc. So if you take a look down here on the bottom left, you have your Model tab, and then you have your Layout tabs. You'll see that there are 4 existing layouts that we've created. One is the 8.5 by 11 portrait, one is 8.5 by 11 landscape, and then we also have B-size 11 by 17. Later on when we create sheets, we will be modifying these to create a D-size sheet, which is the typical size sheet that's used by architects. We'll be creating a number of sheets that we can then use to identify specific portions of the drawing, such as site plan, floor plan, roof plan, elevations, and a typical wall section. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to go back to Model Space, and in Model Space is where we are going to be doing all of our work with a few exceptions. The project itself is called the Marion. You will find it located in the back of the Architectural Design and Drafting book or in the accompanying website, or I will also issue a drawing for you. This is considered a model plan that can be built in a number of different properties. We will not be using this elevation, but this is the typical layout for the floor plan in here. Now this floor plan is designed for more of a northern application where the construction materials are not typical to South Florida. So we will be making a number of modifications to it. Now in order to give you those modifications, what typically can be done from an architect or a project manager, he may give you a set of markups, which are red line markups that tell you what the modifications might be. So what I've done in this case, as an example right here, I've given you a number of markups to the existing Marion plan with instructions and modifications to the plan itself. Some of the most important modifications is that here in South Florida we use 8-inch CMU, which is concrete block, for the exteriors of the construction. In this case, you can see that the exterior walls are about the same width as the interiors. We will be using 8-inch CMU for the exteriors and typically 4-inch stud interior walls. I've also included a number of other modifications that we will be applying, including a different roof layout, which then affects the elevations. Now this property, we're going to be putting the house that we're going to be designing, we're going to be actually putting it into a piece of property in the city of Fort Lauderdale, which is at 2718 Northeast 17th Street. We would have to do a number of searches in order to find out what the zoning is for that property, what our setbacks are, etc. And we will be doing that later on when it's time to put the building on a piece of property. I have also included on the markups in here, I have included a set of instructions for our site layout including information that we will get from looking at the zoning code, including setbacks on the side, setbacks in the front, how and what layers we will be using, including thickness, line type, etc., for property lines, docks, etc. So, with that said, let's go ahead and let's go back to our layout in here. Now, currently the drawing is called Drawing 1. That means it's the first time in this session that I have opened up AutoCAD that it'll create Drawing 1. One of the most important things you need to do is to save the drawing immediately. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the Save icon. The first time you save it, it's going to go to the Save Drawing As. In our case, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the desktop. You will be putting it onto your jump drive on a specific folder for that. And I'm going to call it Marion. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. And as you see, this automatically changes to that. The second thing we really want to do is we want to go ahead and change the units and make sure that we are going to be working in architectural units. The default template initially was set to decimals, so what we need to do is open up the application icon here, go down to the drawing utilities, move over to the units, and let's make some modifications here. When the pop-up window comes up, what we're going to do is change the type from decimals to architecturals. Our precision, I'm going to leave it at 1/32 of an inch. Yours may have started at 1/8 or 1/16. I'm going to set it to 1/32 because even though these are the drawing units, they will affect also our ability to see the exact dimension precision that we will be setting up in our annotative dimensions and units as we'll be setting them there. Let's leave it at inches right in here. And our angle type says decimal degrees. That's fine for now, but I'm going to increase, just in case we need it, our precision to do decimal point to 2 decimal points. And I think we're pretty well complete right in here. So we're going to do OK, and we are almost ready to draw. One of the parameters, or one of the things that the initial template also had, is it had a series of layers that were already set up. Now these were more set up towards what we would call mechanical drafting or technical drafting, where they do not follow the standard recommended for architectural or construction drafting. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add, at this point, before we start laying out our walls, we're going to add a couple of layers onto that. So we're going to left click on Layer Properties. You're going to have a pop-up window like this. We're going to create 2 new layers to start with. So we're going to go to the little icon right in here, New Layer, and we're going to start with the standard process that they like to use for architectural drafting. We're going to start with what we call a discipline designator. In this case, it's going to be architectural. We're going to use a capital A, then a dash, and we're going to use the first major group. In this case, we're going to call the major group is going to be called walls. It needs to be only 4 characters wide. In our case, we are going to be capitalizing a wall, just the W, and the rest is lowercase. Then after we have our discipline and we have our major group, we're going to have what we call our first minor group, and we're going to call this one EXTR, 4 characters again, and that represents our exterior walls that we're going to do. Now, some other architects or some other instructors might set this up differently, but for our sake, we're going to do it this way. Here's where you can control either the color, the line type, the line weight, etc. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to change the color to something that we can see. It's pretty bright in here. The line type will stay as continuous, and we're going to increase our default line weight that is included here for that from 0.25. We're going to create it as a 0.50 millimeters, and the rest looks like it's okay. Now, we're going to create a second layer, so we're going to, leaving it set right to there, we're going to go ahead and hover over the new layer button at the top icon. We're going to left click again, And if you notice, we've got directly under the A wall exterior is where it's going to create our new layer. This is where we were set to before. It has actually copied all of the settings that that layer above it had. But what we are going to do is we're going to rename it. Again, the same discipline, which is architectural, the same major group, which is wall. But we're going to go ahead and change this one to INTR, capital INTR, 4 characters again, but it's going to represent our interior stud walls. I'm going to leave most of the settings, such as line type, line weight, transparency, etc., exactly the same. But in order to, when we draw to differentiate between one or the other, I am going to go ahead and change the color to that. I'm going to do OK, and we're going to start with this. Now, all these other existing layers, with the exception of depth points, we should delete from our set. We don't want to be tempted to be able to use those. But for now, let's go ahead and leave those on. And I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. I'm going to go and set my A wall exterior as my current layer, and I am going to be getting ready to draw. Now, from our layout that we have here, they've given us information on the general sizes of the rooms that they want. Don't be stuck on those dimensions. We can vary this a little bit on those, especially when it comes to the overall dimensions. They leave a number of dimensions out, which I have then included on our markups right here. So using this as our guideline, let's go ahead and let's begin drawing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the line command, and I am going to go to the upper right quadrant from the 0, 0 point, and I'm going to start drawing a line this way, extend it out a certain distance. Right now it shows it's about 13 feet, and I'm going to draw another line going down this way, and I'm going to do it about, let's say, 20 feet. Now I want most of my drawing to be on the upper right quadrant, so I am actually going to move all these lines up to the right side, and here I'm going to zoom out. Now what I'm doing is I am starting with one corner of the house. If we go back to the instructions and the markups here, I'm going to start with this corner up in here. So going back to our drawing, as I mentioned before, our exterior walls in our notes are made out of CMU. They are going to be 8 inches thick. So using the offset command, I'm going to create a distance of 8. I'm going to snap to it, and I'm going to offset my lines 8 inches like this. I can use the fillet command. I'm using the shortcuts here by pressing F on my computer, and I'm going to fillet these 2 lines, and I have my first corner in here. Now you could use your fillet command here. You could use any of the commands on the icons here. Once again, looking at the drawings as we go, we want to be cognizant and aware of what the dimensions are that they are doing. So I've created this corner. I'm now going to use the offset command to start setting up each one of these walls, working my way around the house, switching from exterior to interior layout. And what I'm going to do is the first part of this assignment is we are going to lay out the exterior and the interior walls without doing any openings yet, with 1 or 2 exceptions, for any doors, walls, opening. We're just going to lay out our walls, and then we're going to be cutting out our locations for our doors. We're going to be adding cabinetry and so on. In this first portion of the assignment, we are going to focus on laying out our walls based on the information provided here. So let's go ahead and look at where our first offset is going to be. Our master bedroom says that it is 13 foot 8 inches wide by 20 feet 4 inches long. So we should be able to set the location for both this wall and this wall located right in here. Then they have a closet here where it's been marked up that we want it to be 3 feet deep. We know we're going to be using 4-inch stud walls for the interior. So this separation wall is going to be 4 inches. Where this door is located right here is going to be another 4 inches. And then we have another room down here that is 13 feet 10 inches. And then we have another 8-inch wall. We're going to work our way around with that information. Going back to this, I'm going to use the offset command. Again, looking at the drawing in here, I know that that is 20 feet 4 inches. So I am going to offset 20 feet 4 on the command bar. I'm going to click down here, 20 feet 4. Offset again 4 inches this way. And unfortunately, it's still in the exterior wall layer. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it and change its layer to a wall interior. Now what I can do is offset this wall so that it includes that 3-foot closet. I'm going to offset 3 feet. Offset again 4 inches for the wall. Now I want to offset this way to get this side of the room. Looking in at our drawing again, you can see that it's 13 feet 8 inches. So I am going to use the offset command, change that to 13 feet 8. Enter. Click here. Offset 4. And change that layer to a wall interior. Now I'm going to use the stretch crossing command to just pull this up, make sure my ortho is on. I would recommend having ortho on. And so I sort of have the beginning layouts in here. Using the same stretch crossing command, I'm going to go ahead and pull this wall down in here this way. And I'm going to repeat the stretch command with the crossing selection and just begin to go this way. Now, what is the depth of that room? I can go back to my drawing in here, and I see that it's 13 feet 10 inches long by 11 feet wide. So, using the offset command, I'm going to type in 13 feet 10 inches, hit enter, and I'm going to offset this down this way. And this now becomes an exterior wall. I'm going to offset it, the thickness of the exterior wall. I'm going to highlight it, change its layer to a wall exterior, and I'm going to use the fillet command right here. That, and now I can begin to work my way to the left in order to get the width of the room, which, if we remember, was 11 feet. Now I can turn on my dynamic input, so when it comes time to the offset, you'll be able to see it right where my cursor is, and I can actually specify my distance there. I'm going to do 11 feet, hit enter, and then the thickness of the wall, 4 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to the interior wall. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this down so it doesn't get confusing for the clarity on what the size of this room is. So I'm going to go ahead and use my stretch crossing command. It won't affect this line. I'm going to bring that line down and bring that line down about to there. The next room I'm going to go is I'm going to tackle the bathroom in here. Based on our information and our notes that we have here, we want it 5 foot 6 inches wide. Then we have a 4-inch wall here, and then an 11-foot wide bedroom. So let's go ahead and let's go back to our AutoCAD, and I'm going to offset this 5 foot 6 inches and go to the offset command, change that to 5 foot 6 inches, offset, repeat the command and offset again. I want 4 inches. Let's go to offset and change that to 4. And then I've got my other room in here, so I am going to go back to the offset command. And again, I can use my shortcut keys, or I can go up to here. I'll set the value at 11 feet, hit enter, and then offset one more time for 4 inches in here. Now there's a few things you need to notice. This wall once it passes this wall of the bathroom, needs to come up a little bit and come across this way, and then this is going to come up again and come across this way. So what I'm pointing at is this wall is coming up this way and across this way and then back up. We need to know where this wall is so we know how far down 12 foot 2 is in relation to this wall. Well, if you pay close attention to alignments here, you're going to see a series of them. You see one here between the back wall of the walk-in closet and the wall to the left of the master tub. You can also see one here with this coming across all the way to the left right here. Those walls align. So since I've already laid this wall out, I can stretch it out this way and let it come over to here. Then I can begin to lay out my exterior walls here, plus once I have information here, I can lay out my wall here. So let's go back to the drawing in here. I'm going to use my stretch crossing command, pull that wall over to here, and I can offset this one, the distance of that room, which if you go back and take a look at is 12 foot 2 inches. So I'm going to use the offset command again, set up 12 foot 2, enter, and click this down. Offset, that is now an exterior wall, offset it to 8 inches and change its layer to a wall exterior. Using the stretch crossing command, I'm going to get it out of here so it does not confuse. So I'm going to click there, right click, start here, and I'm going to move it to somewhere. In fact, I'm going to move it to this point right here, that intersection. Now let's undo because I didn't do what I wanted to do. I'm going to do the stretch command right in here first, and I'm going to do it to here. I'm going to make sure that my perpendicular was set in here, which it was. And what I need to do is I have to make sure that this exterior wall wraps around here, comes down, and then ties into this wall. We cannot have this as part of the exterior. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the extend command. I'm going to extend to this. I'm going to extend these two walls. And then what I can do is using my stretch or trim command, I can take these two walls and go to the end point right here onto that. Now I can draw my exterior wall down here, 8 inches thick, and using my fillet command, I will clean that up. I'm currently set to my exterior wall, so I'm going to do a line command, bring it down in here, do an offset command, 8 inches, offset here this way, and now I'm going to go to my fillet command, and I am going to fillet the lines as I want. Now this one looks like it's already been filleted. I want to repeat my fillet command to these two, and I'm going to repeat my fillet command here and here, and once again repeat my fillet command here and here. Now this is the condition that I want right in here. That allows the interior surface of the bathroom to continue through different types of walls, and that would be flush on this side, and that's what we were looking for. Now I'm going to do something very similar in here, because I do know that this wall, exterior wall, comes in here, comes up about 4 feet, and then comes across to create the entry wall right in here. So what I need to do is I need to pull these guys out a little bit. So I'm going to use the stretch command, pull this up in here, and I know that I want my wall to be set up right here, flush to the inside of the room in a similar condition that it was in here. So I can actually draw my line in here, and I'm going to offset it 8. And using my fillet command, I will fillet these two lines, and I will fillet these two lines. Now where does that porch wall occur? Where does that exterior wall for the porch occur? So taking a look at our drawings again, we notice that it's given us a dimension from the exterior of the porch of this wall right here to the exterior of the entry wall of the porch of 4 foot 8 inches and 12 feet across. So going back, we are going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this wall from here to here, and there's different ways of doing it. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this wall up the 4'8" that it says. I'm going to offset it 8 inches to the inside to give me the thickness of my wall. And then using the fillet command or my trim command, I can begin to fillet the different walls that I want. I'm going to fillet these two here again. I need to know where this one is. That's good, but this one I can either grab by the grip or I can go to my trim command and use the trim and trim that line out of there. So now I've got the same condition here as I have right here. The next thing that we're going to do is, we know that they want this porch to be 12 feet wide. I'm going to offset using 12 feet and then offset again to create the exterior wall here, and the fillet command to fillet our walls in here. Now I'm going to use the stretch crossing command and start to bring this down a certain distance. I don't know exactly how far that distance is, but I'm going to bring it down that far in here. Now our porch is lined up right in here. So what I want to do is take a look at where any other walls might be that are going to be applicable. So in order for me to know how far down this garage goes, I need to sort of indicate where this wall is. So what I've discussed with the class before is that from this outside edge of the porch, we're going to create a line that's going to represent that wall right in there. That's going to be about 8 inches up from there. And then it's a 4-inch wall going up. And then we know that the garage is going to be 22 feet down. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what I'm talking about. I'm going to use I could use the construction layer or the depth point layer to do any one of these. But I'm going to go ahead and I am going to create a layer now right in here. When that opens up, I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And I'm going to call this layer A dash slab is going to be the major group, then dash, and my minor group is going to be EDGE. So we've got the discipline is A, the major group is slab, and the first minor group is edge. I'm going to go ahead and change the color. In this case, I can change it to almost any color that I want. I'm just going to change it to, let's say, a gray tone in here. And the continuous line type is okay, but I'm going to be looking down at that, so I don't want it that thick. What I really want it at is a thickness of 0.15. And that is not just the thickness, that is called line weight. And that's what we want to do, and we're going to set it as our current. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from here to here. And I'm going to draw another line from here to here. And I'm going to offset this line or move it up the 8 inches that I was talking about. And that is where the wall between the garage and the exterior here would be located. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, highlight it. I'm going to change it to an A wall interior. It is an interior wall. I can use my trim command and clean that up right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my offset command. It's an interior wall at 4 inches. I'm going to offset it to the inside. And now I can offset it down in this direction so that I can get my 22-foot dimension for the depth of the garage. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the drawing. Use the offset command, 22 feet. Click in here, look down, and that is my exterior wall. I'm going to go ahead and change it to A wall exterior. Offset it 8 inches. I'm going to use the fillet command for these two items. Now the width of the garage, based on the sketches in the drawing, is 20 feet wide. So I can offset this 20 feet. offset 20 feet, offset again for the thickness of my wall, which is 8 inches. Use the fillet command for these two walls. Whoops. Repeat fillet. And now I can stretch this wall up to line up with this, which is one of the parameters that I wanted to do. So I'm going to use the stretch crossing command, highlight that corner, and if I have my object snapping, I could snap right to there, which it did. And now I can draw. I should switch over to my A-wall exterior, and I can draw a wall in here that will line up with that one right there. And then I can offset it 8 inches right to there, and I'm going to go ahead and fillet these two. Now, I'm going to worry about my bay window condition here a little bit later. What I'm going to do is try to continue to work my dimensions around in here. So I'm going to use the extend command, highlight some walls and start extending other walls to where I want them to go. Let's go ahead. I'm going to use the stretch command right in here. I want this to go up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and go to my extend command, highlight that and extend these two. And if you look at the drawings right in here, we have a closet here. These are linear closets. The typical depth of the linear closet is 2 feet. So I want to lay out this wall, at least initially, right now, coming out this way. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to lay out these verticals, but I'm going to lay out these here right now. I'm going to go back to my drawing. So I need to offset this 2 feet in. Now it's not going to extend all the way to here, because here we do have a 3-foot closet. So I'm going to use the offset command, go to 2 feet, click right in here, offset the 4 inches right into there. I can fill it over in here. And again, in order to clean up and not confuse in here, I'm going to use the stretch crossing selection. It won't affect this line. And bring that guy all the way over to here. If I want to, I can just stretch this guy maybe a little bit more over to there. Now the next thing is, there is a 4-foot corridor here before we start getting into the walls of the second bathroom and the master bedroom bath closet area. So using the offset command, the corridor width is going to be 4 feet, and there is a 4-inch wall at that point. Now, one of the alignments that you need to take a look at also here is, if you take a look at this drawing right in here, this wall aligns with the end of this wall and the shelving at this point. So what I'm going to go ahead and finish this wall off right here, and I could start my drawings for the shelves in here. I'm going to go ahead and just stop at this point before I continue here, and I'm going to work my way around the rest of the house first. So first thing I want to do is make sure I am in the correct layer, which is A-wall interior. And you notice this lines up perfectly with that for that right now. And for the sake of completing this, I'm going to go ahead and fillet this over to here. And our angled wall in the master bathroom is going to be somewhere in here. We're going to determine that in a little while. So let's continue back out in here. I'm going to use the extend command to go ahead and select these to extend to, and I'm going to extend these 2 lines which represent the wall between the garage and the dining room and the utility room. Let's take a look at what we've got once we get in there. So we've got a utility laundry room that is 12 feet wide, or 12 feet deep, which is the same as your dining area. This utility room or laundry room is also 7 foot 8 inches wide. So we can determine this wall and this wall right now. So let's go ahead and go back to the drawing. And I know that this was 7 foot 8 inches this way. So I'm going to use the offset command, type in 7 foot 8, hit enter, offset. I'm going to change that to an interior wall. I'm going to offset 4 inches, and I am going to trim this out right here. Now take a look at how many clicks I'm using to trim. There's probably going to be an easier way to do it, but we want this clean in here eventually so that you don't have any of those conditions. I have yet to do them in here. We can always do them later on, but you will definitely want a break. Unlike this, we want a break here. And why is that? Because we have 2 different styles of walls, 2 different materials. There's going to be a natural break at that point. All right, let's continue. We know that the laundry room and the dining room are 12 feet. So I am going to go ahead and use offset 12 feet into here. Offset 4 inches again. And I'm going to stretch this guy over in here to where we want it. We're not quite sure where that wall is going to be coming up there, but I can also trim this guy off right in there. There's my area for the laundry room and my kitchen in here. Let's take a look at some conflicting dimensions that they have on the drawing in here. They give you a dimension for the kitchen that's 10 foot by 11 foot 2. To me, that never made much sense because they're actually giving you a dimension from cabinet face to cabinet face. You never dimension anything that way. So what we're doing is we're going to look at other clues in terms of where this wall is located right here. Well, this gives you a breakfast area that is 10 foot 7 deep. Again, they don't describe from where, but they're pretty clear in terms of the width being at 14 feet 4 inches. That is going to determine where this wall is right here. So I'm going to go back to the drawing. I'm going to use the offset command, 14 feet 4 inches. Go over here to the right, offset 4. Now I could convert it first, but I've decided to do it this way. Let's go ahead and change the layer and convert it now to interior. And let's fillet this wall and this wall here. And we've got our layout for our dining area in here. We'll worry about that column here and any soffit information that we have up to here. So this sort of gives us an idea in terms of what our kitchen and breakfast area is going to be. We're going to determine our bay window later on. But if you look at the drawing, this wall actually comes here, comes down a certain distance, across, and then back up here. And we have to determine where that's going to happen. Let's take care of this side first. If you look at where we do the markups here, I've given a dimension there where this exterior wall here comes down 2 feet before it starts coming out this way. And where it comes up is a wall that is located at the back of the shelves. We'll do this one after we finish the left side up here. So what do we need to do in here? Well, we have an exterior wall that's going to be 2 feet further down in here. So I can copy this guy and come down 2 feet. And I'm going to use my stretch crossing command right here and bring that all the way to this location here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to draw, let's see what the easiest way to do this would be. I'm going to go ahead and offset this, my 8 inches down located right here. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line using the proper layout here, a wall exterior, and I am going to draw it from this point down. I'm going to highlight these 2 walls, and I am going to grab them by the grip. There's different ways to do it, and I'm going to get them out of the way for now. So now I can fillet this wall and this wall. I still need to give myself the thickness here. I'm going to offset 8 into here. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it here, and fill it here. Then I'm going to go ahead and stretch this up and locate it right up to there. Now I've got a little bit, these weren't at the right location, so I can either grab it by the grip or I can use the trim command into here, use that as my cutting edge and trim that out of the way. So I've got the location for that exterior wall that's going to be coming around this way. Now I need to know where it comes back up. Remember, I was talking about alignments before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this over just a little bit closer to here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to create one new layer that's going to represent the shelving. So I'm going to go to Layer Properties. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this one A dash. I'm going to use case for casework. That's the major group. And then I'm going to do a dash, and I'm going to create SHLV for shelf. Now you could use a F. There's a number of ways that you could do it. I've decided to do it that way. Again, I'm going to change the color to help identify it as something a little bit different. I'm going to go with magenta. Actually, let's go with cyan. I'm going to do OK to that. And make sure that depending on where when you started to create that layer, what previous layer was highlighted, you need to look at the line type. Continuous is correct for that. But the line weight is way too thick. So we're going to go ahead and change that to 0.15. Do OK. And this icon on here, let's just put it as setting our current. I'm going to close it off. I'm going to go to line work. And I'm going to go ahead and set this guy up. And let it go to right lining up with that one. Now that represents the front of our shelving. We're going to have a fireplace cutting into it. But what we need to do is to know where this wall kicks back, and we know that it kicks up at the back of the shelves. Our shelves we designate as 12 inches deep. So using the offset command, I'm going to do that at 12 inches. I'm going to go ahead and change the layer back to an interior wall layer. Give it a 4-inch offset. And I know where this now is going to turn up. So I can use the stretch command. Stretch to this point. I can set my layers to a wall exterior. Do a line up like this. Offset to the outside because I want it flush on the inside. And then I can use the fillet commands to clean this up right here like this. So that pretty well sets up the exterior perimeter with a few different things. We're going to start going now with some of the interior walls and how we want to set those up. Some of those are going to be based on the sizes of fireplaces, other sizes of doors, etc. For now, let's go ahead and go with this layout. What we're going to do is now we're going to go ahead and create our porch support columns in here and indicator lines that are going to indicate where the supports for that porch is going to be. The porch columns are actually set in the same material as your exterior walls. They're composed of concrete block, but instead of being the standard 8 by 8 by 16, they're going to be 12 by 12. So we can either go to the rectangle command and type 12 by 12, or we can use line work and just work your way around onto that. Now I am going to go ahead and I am going to align these with a certain line in here. I'm going to use a no plot line in here, which is depth points, and I am going to set it up right here and then move that line to the outside here 8 inches. That is where our upper indicator line for the beams that are supported here by the wall and the columns in here are going to indicate where the edge of our roof is. I could have also done it this way and then either trim this line or grab it by the grip going to perpendicular to here. Now I want a 12-foot deep porch in here. So what I'm going to do, I am going to go ahead and offset this line right here. 12 feet. I'm going to fillet these. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some information. I'm going to create a new layer because I don't like the fact that these are either on depth points or the A wall layer. So I'm going to go to Layer Properties. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get it away from depth points because if not, I'm going to end up with a layer that is non-plottable. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to any one of the other layers. Let's use the Ano layer. I'm going to create a new one underneath it. I'm going to create it as A for the discipline. Actually, we could even do S. This stands for structural. Dash, I'm going to call it BEAM for beam. That's our major group. And then dash again for our minor group is going to be above. ABOV. Now here, it happened to be a hidden 2 layer. That is what I want it to be. Now the line weight needs to be very thin, so I'm going to go more with a 0.15 line weight for it. And I'm going to go ahead and change the color to a yellow color. I'm going to set it as my current. So if I need to draw anything, it'll be on that layer. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those 3 lines. And I'm going to change them to the new layer that I've done, S-beam above. Now it's a hidden 2 line type, but take a look at that. You do not see the line type as a hidden 2. You see it as a continuous. That has to do with the scale down in here. If you remember the template that we used, the template was one that was geared more towards technical drafting. In this case, the lines are there, but they are so close together onto that you have a little bit of a problem. We need to change this scale. We're going to change it to the typical scale where we would show that feature, which is going to be at 1/4 inches equal to 1 foot. Now notice nothing has changed until you type in regen, and then when you hit enter, the line type changes to what it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my columns to the location where they need to be. They want to go from this corner and snap to there. I'm going to use the copy command and copy that column from this point to this point, and now I have my exterior columns located in here. The next thing I want to do is I want to start laying out some of the walls in here, and that will include the fireplace details in here and some of the additional walls that we're going to have in here. So let's take a look at what the best way to do this is. Let's go back to our markup in here, and you notice that this bathroom right in here, which is a powder room, I wanted it 5 foot 6 inches wide, the same as this one in here. And then I'm going to have, I've already got this wall, then I've got this wall laid out, so I can lay it out all the way up to be able to get the width of this. So let's start with those lines up into there. So I would need to offset this line. I'm going to use the offset command, and I'm going to offset it 5 foot 6 inches. Whoops, wrong way, but I'm going to go ahead and delete this line, and then I'm going to offset 4 inches for the thickness of the wall, and I can extend that all the way to here. Now that's going to be my toilet room right in here, and if we recheck again, we know that toilet room we want to be at 3 foot 6 inches wide. So I'm going to go ahead using the offset command. I'm going to go to 3 foot 6 inches, offset this 3 foot 6, offset it 4 inches again. I'm going to go ahead and change those two to interior wall, and using the trim command, I'm going to go ahead and trim these two. I'm going to leave this here for now until I have another edge that I need to cut in here. Now, if you take a look at this, right here is a platform for a drop-in tub. Then we have a double door here, and then a vanity here, and then we have the wall coming across. Well, where does that wall occur? For that, we have to make a couple of determinations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a temporary layer such as depth points that won't print, and I'm going to draw where the edge of that tub platform would be. If you wanted to go in here and take a look at this, and let's zoom in on this a little bit, that would be this edge right in here. And you notice the door is in here. I've located as 2 2-0 doors, which means it's a total of 4 feet wide. But you need a return on each side between this edge and where the door is in order to put your casings. Now I have added a note down at the bottom which says leave 3 inches on both sides of doors for casings. So using that parameter, we're going to establish where our door is located with 3 inches here, another 3 inches where the front of our countertop is, and knowing that the countertops are 2 feet deep, we'll be able to set up our wall right here. So let's go ahead and let's get to work in here. So I'm going to take that same line in here. Now I could just draw another one here. I'm going to move it down the 3 inches, and then what I can do is copy it or offset. What did I say? There are 2 2-foot doors, so I need to offset this a total of 4 feet. Then I can either copy or offset the 3 inches, and that represents where our countertop is going to be, and that is the front of the countertop. Now I know the countertop is 2 feet deep, so this is where our wall is. So I can change that to our wall layer, a wall interior. I'll set it at 4 inches, and now we have our closet layout. We have our countertop here. I'm going to go ahead and grab it by the grip and bring it to perpendicular in here. I know where my doors are going to be, so I'm going to go ahead and change these two to my A-wall interior layer. And this is one of those cases where we are concerned because the wall locations are based on the door sizes and the returns. I'm going to go ahead and trim the insides of these so I have my opening for my door in there. Now I've got my countertop, my deck for the tub right here. I'm going to bring it back. Okay, and then we've got a countertop, and we could almost call this one a countertop too. I'm going to create a layer for those. Now that also has to do with cabinetry and issues of that case. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my A case shelving. I'm going to create a new layer called A dash case dash. That's my discipline and major group. My minor group I'm going to call COUN, just for countertop. Now we could create a separate one for the bathtub, but let's go ahead and leave it that. I'm going to leave it at cyan, continuous, 0.15 is excellent for what we want to do. We're going to make that our current layer in case we need to draw anything or make any modifications. I'm going to highlight both of those, and I'm going to change this to a case counter. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the color of a case counter so we don't get confused. I'm going to make it another blue color, but maybe just a little bit darker. And as you can see, it changed a little bit on the color right in there. It's different than the shelving up into here. So we've got our master walk-in closet. Now we have to determine our distances in here, especially with our fireplace. We're going to want to center it on the shelving in here. And then we've got a couple of more locations where we need to create some closet spaces into here. So let's take a look at our markups in here. And it tells you that the linen closet comes back out in here, and it creates where the door for the linen closet actually creates where the edge of your shower is and where the back of the fireplace is right in here. So we're going to make that shelving right here. It says 1 foot deep in 1 foot deep linen closet. So we can go back to our drawing. I'm going to take this line right in here, use the offset command at 1 foot, and I'm going to click that there, offset 4 inches. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. I'm going to use a stretch crossing selection and trim that out later, and that is where we have that located right there. Now let's see what we can do. We can set up our walls in here for our fireplace, which may have some effect on how we lay out our bathroom in here. So What makes a lot of sense in the fireplace in here is we don't have a big house, so we're not going to have a huge fireplace, but we probably want to center it on this shelving in here. So we can go once again to maybe a depth point layer, which is a non-print. Find the midpoint in here, and we're going to offset 2 feet in each direction and extend those 2 lines up to there. That is going to represent our fireplace. So I'm going to highlight those 2, change those to a wall interior. I'm going to offset them 4 inches to the outsides, so I still have 4 feet in here. Now if we take a look at this, I can actually use these 2 items to trim this out from in there. I'm going to use the front of my shelving to trim that out. Then I can use this line and this line to trim out my shelving. And I'm going to leave this right in here because I'm going to want an opening dimension here that is the same on both sides. Now that may vary depending on the fireplace that we select. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to offset now 3 feet. A little bit too much because I had to offset this 2 feet. So I'm going to offset half of 3 feet. So that's 1 foot 6 inches this way and 1 foot 6 inches this way. I'm going to go back to my A-wall interior, draw a line from there to here, 4 inches over, and then back up to perpendicular in here, and I can clean this up later on if I want to. Now I could also just mirror this and this around that point. Erase source object, no, and I definitely want to draw a line in here. So now I can erase this and erase this, and I'll clean that up a little bit later. So there's my center line of where my fireplace is for now. I can also probably delete that. I may need it later on. But what we now have is some information here in terms of where we want the shower to start and where the fireplace ends. Now their layout shows something odd happening in here with this little guy coming in like that. I would really like this to be flush, but let's see what numbers we get to make sure that our shower is big enough and that our bathroom is big enough. So if I take a measurement, a distance measurement from here to here, I notice that I have 5'2". That's probably deep enough for the powder room into there. But let's take another dimension and see if we can get a little bit better in terms of the width. Well, this is 5'6". So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify from the sketch a little bit how the layout of this bathroom is going to eventually be. And you guys will see that once we get to one of the later videos on how we set that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this to here like that. And I'm going to trim this out of the way. And this room is going to represent our powder room bathroom. Now I'm going to take a look at our shower right in here. I'm still on a wall interior. I want the edge of this wall to line up with that. And I'm going to pull this one over to here. And then I'm going to use this edge and this edge to trim this out right in here. So using the trim command, I can highlight all my trimming edges, click that in there. And now what I want to do is make sure that I have a deep enough shower into there. One of the things I need to do is to draw a curb. Again, this is not going to be a real door in here. It's going to be part of a shower enclosure. Typically you do a 4-inch step up across. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and create a new layer for that curb. Now I've got a wall interior here. It doesn't really matter where you're at as long as it's not set to one of the no plot layers. Okay, so I've got a couple of them already laid out. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. The discipline is still A. The major group is wall. We have the minor group is INTR, but I'm going to create a second minor group, which is CURB for curve. I'm going to go ahead and definitely change the color on that one. I'm going to choose any color that we really want in there. It really doesn't matter. I'll choose 43. Continuous, and of course the line weight needs to be a very thin line weight at 0.15. We're going to modify that, and I'm going to make it our current layer. I'm going to click close that, go to my line command, go across in here, and I'm going to offset 4 inches. That represents the curve right here. Now I know that this is a distance, if I measure it, which is probably sufficient for a small shower, but I'm more concerned about this distance here. By code, you're required to have at least 30 inches of space for you to walk on. So anything above 2'6" is good. We've got 2'10", so we're good with a shower enclosure right there, and it looks like we've got it all in the right layers. So this has now been laid out pretty good. Well, at what angle is this wall that closes off this set to? Now remember, we had to worry about our 3 inches on each side of the door. We're going to have that same condition here. We're going to want 3 inches, the typical door that goes into a bedroom, then 3 inches before we can lay out this wall. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to my depth point layer. I'm going to draw a line in here. I'm going to move it or offset it 3 inches this way. Now, based on my information that I've given you here, okay, all doors going into bedrooms should be 2'8", and I have that indicated here with a 2 with a smaller 8 next to it. I'm going to go back into here. So I'm going to go ahead and offset this 2'8", and I'm going to offset it again 3 inches. And I'm going to fill it, extend, or grab it by the grip up here. I'm going to change that one from that depth points to a wall interior. Offset this 4 inches. And I'm going to fill it right at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and change these two to a wall interior. And then go to the trim command. Trim everything across here. And I've got my location here for the door and where this wall is. Let's take a look at one more thing before we do our diagonal wall. It tells me that I want a clear interior dimension for this linen closet at 1'6". So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to offset here 1'6" this way. Whoops. Repeat offset. 1'6" is the default now. I'm going to click in here. I'm going to offset again 4 inches this way. And I've got my closet and my linen closet located in here. I'm going to do a couple of more things very similar to that in here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stretch this over a little bit this way. And I'm going to extend these lines to here. I need to create a passageway right here that's going to help create these closets in here. So everything I did in here is sort of going to be duplicated over in here. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to draw a line from here. I'm going to move it over 3 inches. Then I'm going to go ahead and offset. Again, this leads to a bedroom, 2'8". And then offset the 3 inches again. And this time I'm going to use the extend command, extend this line to here. I'm going to change it to a wall interior. The same thing with these two. I'm going to change to a wall interior. I'm going to use the trim command, and I'm going to trim this out right in there for that opening. I'm going to offset this 4 inches for the wall this way. I'm going to go ahead and extend this line. Actually, I'm just going to grab it by the grip, come to perpendicular, go back to my trim command, highlight what I need to trim as my edges, and then I'm ready to lay out these two closets in here. Now this calls for a 4-foot closet interior, a 4-foot door leading into the closet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put this as 4'6" this way. And then go ahead and do this 4 inches right in there. Now all of these dimensions are editable in the future. because we can always use the stretch command to make sure our doors fit in, that we got rooms for the casings and so on. So we can always, whatever we draw is always can be adjusted. Now we've got another little closet in here that if we take a look at our markups, I don't know if I gave a dimension, but I do. I want a 2'4" dimension to the inside. So I'm going to use the offset command, type in 2'4", offset again the 4 inches, use the fillet command to clean this up a little bit to begin with, and I'm going to go ahead and use this as my trimming edge and clean that up in here. So I'm doing pretty good right here. Now I can draw my angled wall in here. So I could actually do that with my A-wall interior. I'm going to go from corner to corner. Now you could offset 2 inches this way and 2 inches this way, but we've got a really big room in here. I'm going to offset all the way to the inside. That's going to give me a little bit more room in this hallway. I don't want a bottleneck right at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and use the offset command, go to 4 inches, and offset this way. Now it really doesn't matter that this is not centered on that. All you got to do is fill it and clean it up a little bit, and that'll be fine, and we'll have plenty of room for our door located into here. So this side of the house is almost done, with the exception of a couple of walls in here for the dressing area of the bathroom and the bathroom located in here. Now I'm going to leave off the little linen closet that's in the bathroom here for now, because I've had some students who decide that they don't want that linen closet, that this one should be sufficient, and it gives them a little bit more room for this area. Sometimes they'll just do it with cabinetry work. So for now I'm more concerned about this wall right in here. Now notice there's a dimension of 3'6" here, and this is a countertop, which just like this one is going to be 2 feet deep. So let's go ahead and go here. We're going to go to our offset command at 2 feet. Choose this line as our offset, and then we said we want an offset again at 3'6", and an offset of 4. I'm going to go ahead and trim. I'm going to use this and this as my trimming edges. Get rid of that, and get rid of that. And I'm going to go ahead and I should have highlighted these two as my trimming edges here. That one and that one. And I'm going to make sure I've got this in the proper layer, which happened to be A case CON for countertop. So we've got that pretty well set. This side of the house is pretty well done. If you want to do the closet in here, feel free to do that to the dimensions that I've indicated in here, which is 2'4" by 2'0" deep to the outside. So I'm going to leave it blank right now. We can always do it with casework. So let's go ahead and let's go back to this side of the house and see what we need to lay out over in here before we start laying out any doors and so on. So let's take a look at what our markup is telling us. We're not going to worry too much about this, and we're not going to worry about this opening here either. We've got this wall laid out, and we've got this wall laid out. So we have a 2'8" door going into here. So very similar to the conditions we had to do here. Before we can lay this wall out, we need to set up our doorway opening. And then right here it tells you from outside to outside, we want 3'4" located. We also have a couple of broom closets in here. In some cases, I would probably tell you, let's do one bigger broom closet and leave this one out. So we'll modify this one a little bit more also. If you notice, we give you the dimensions for the depth of the broom closets if you decide to do 1 or 2. And so let's just start with one that's going to be about 2 feet wide and 2 feet 4 inches deep. So let's go ahead. I'm going to use the offset command. I want it at 2'4" this way. I'm going to go ahead and offset it 4 more this way. I'm going to offset this also, okay, at 2'4", and offset it 4 inches again. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and trim this out. going to change this to our proper layer, which is a wall interior, and I'm going to trim that out right here. So I've got my broom closet located in here. Let's try this pantry closet in here. I'm going to go back to the A to the depth points, and I'm going to go ahead and draw a line here. I can move it over my 3 inches. I'm going to offset it 2'8". That is the size of the door that's got to go in there. I'm going to go ahead and offset the 3 inches again. And I'm going to offset this 2 foot 4 inches deep. And that is to the outside of the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and, using the offset command, go to 2'4" this way. And I can fillet this and this. I'm going to change that to my interior. I'm going to change these two also to my A-wall interior layer. I'm just going to go ahead and trim out now where my door would be. And I know that I need to be, I said this was the outside wall, so I'm going to offset to the inside for both of these. And let's see what width we wanted it in terms of the closet. And it looks like we're going 3'4" outside to outside. So going back to my, I'm going to offset this 3'4". And offset it 4 inches, this time to the inside. And I can use fillet or trim to get this cleaned up in here like that. Now I still got a bunch of things I can still use to trim with. I could still do that closet in here. I could do the second closet in here. For now I'm going to go ahead and leave it this way. Now we are about 99% done with this. All we're really left to do is our bay window condition back out in here. And it uses exterior wall materials for it. So what I'm going to do is, based on the information given in the drawing, I'm going to copy this or offset it up 2 foot 4 inches to there. Then I'm going to offset that 8 inches. That's going to represent the horizontal part, and I'm coming in at 45 degrees with each one of these coming this way. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make sure I'm in the right layer, A-wall exterior. I'm going to draw a line. It can be from anywhere, but I usually like to use somewhere over in this location. I'm going to do F8 to take my ortho off. I'm going to go beyond where this exterior wall is going to be. I'm going to tab over, and I'm going to type 45 degrees because I want that to be at 45 degrees. Then I'm going to go ahead and use the offset command. This is an 8-inch wall. I'm going to offset right in there. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to mirror these two. Doesn't matter where right now because I'm going to fix it later. Put on my ortho. Do not erase the objects. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start using the fillet command and fillet from here to here and fillet from here to here. And then I can use my trim command, get rid of this, and then fillet and clean this up right in here. Now for now I'm going to go ahead and stretch this over to the left somewhere in there because I want to figure out what I need here for my doorway. Now there's a 3'0" exterior doorway, but unlike interior walls where the frame of the door can actually go inside the wall, with a CMU or concrete block wall you cannot do that. Now this works in modular, so while you are in the A-wall exterior layer, let's go ahead and draw a line from here to here. I'm going to go ahead and move it the same thickness as the wall, 8 inches over. Now this would create 16 inches. We could get away with 12 right in there. And then what I'm going to do is, even though it's a 3-foot door, I'm going to offset this 3'4" to allow for the frames. Then what I can do is I can trim this out, and I've got my location here. I'm going to go ahead and offset this 8 inches this way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point and stretch it here. Now I want to grab the whole thing. I don't want to grab one of these lines individual because if I stretch that over, this point remains locked and it would change the angle. So using the stretch crossing command, Make sure you get all of it, including this one, and you can bring it from here to here. Now I can delete this line, and I've got my condition here that I'm looking for. I want something similar over in here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from here to here. Make sure it's perpendicular. This time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it or offset it 8 inches also. I can delete this here. And in this case we were almost there. I'm going to use the stretch crossing command here, but I am going to remove this one from the selection set so that I can select here and move it to there. So now I've got a similar condition in both sides. Now I can fit a window here, fit a window here, and fit a window here. Now obviously you can't step out into nowhere in here, so we're going to create a line in here that's very similar to this one in here, which is a slab edge, and eventually we'll add some more when we start putting additional doors. So I'm going to go back to a slab edge right here, go to my line command, and for now I'm going to go take and draw a line from there. It looks like almost all of my walls are pretty well set up. In the next video we'll show you how to put doors and windows and bathroom fixtures, countertops, appliances, etc. into the project.